Last time we went to the fairgrounds, Kevin Kilroy almost smashed the record for hitting the largest daily double on doubling down, beaten by a head. Let's go back to the well and see how we do at fairgrounds this week for the Louisiana Derby. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Trust the Profits YouTube page. My name is Colin Sheehan. This is Doubling Down with Colin Sheehan, and I'm once again glad to be joined by Kevin Kilroy, the fairgrounds specialist. Kevin, how are you?
Colin, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me back on the show. We're just winding things down at Fairgrounds. Just 1 week left in the meet, and it's a big one, man. It's a big one.
You've got your hands full. We were just talking about how many races you have to cover over the course of the next 5 days. So good luck to you. But for those of that tuned in, which was also one of our most watched episodes, was last time you were on, me and you looked at the Rachel Alexandra and the Risen Star. We both had Angel of Empire, which got us a really nice price. I went with Hoosier Philly. You went with Miracle. And at the end of that little conversation, I said, I liked Pretty Mischievous. And if I was going to go your route, maybe you should throw in both of those. And lo and behold, that paid off $180 daily double. And I still think about it each week. I put this together because if I had listened to you, not including Hoosier Philly, and you maybe added Pretty Mischievous, we would have had a really nice score because we both had Angel of Empire.
Yeah, I didn't get that score. Angel of Empire, that was a juicy price, surprisingly so, that was such a big price. Then that's maybe something that can work out again for us in terms of getting a Cox runner that's a little bit overlooked, right? That's a little bit not on the radar. Like I know you always talk about, you want to be looking in those probables and sort of seeing, not just what those morning line odds or win odds are, but really how they're paying out in those pools. And maybe we can find something else. And going against Hoosier Philly, Miracle slowed it up. Johnny V almost got it all the way down. And we have a similar sort of front runner in this one. So we'll see about that.
It was close. Here's our standings since last time you were on. I was up around 40. I kept going 1 out of 2. I did hit last week, but it was only $1.20 profit when Last Samurai crossed the finish line. So we're still in the green. Hopefully we can keep it going. I've added you on there. You're only $5 in the red. This is your second appearance, so plenty of time to get back into the green. We look at the Fairgrounds Oaks on Saturday, March 25th. And as we talked about, we have Hoosier Philly Pretty Mischievous coming back. We don't have Miracle. It was a 6-horse field in the Rachel Alexandra. We got a really nice price on Pretty Mischievous if you're on it. That obviously hurts your price here for Pretty Mischievous. And you can see the 8-5 and then 2-1 with Allie's Look and Hoosier Philly. These 3 horses are 2nd, 9th, and 10th on the Kentucky Oaks standings right now. So who'd you like here for Saturday in the Fairgrounds Oaks?
Yeah, I really think that this is, Pretty Mischievous' story. She's just been so professional and so progressive for, Brendan Walsh has just done such great work. Paul Madden, the assistant trainer on the grounds, she's just kind of been under the radar, 8-1, I think was her price, in the Rachel. And that was really a nice price there. She's not going to be that big of a price, but I still think there's some value to be had with her. I still think she's a little bit under the radar. Of course, we have this Cox filly, the Allie's Look, who's going to be bet hard. And I think Hoosier Philly still will be bet hard. And, for good reason. She does seem like she's doing well. So, it's one of these scenarios where I feel like, singling one of these is the key in trying to find value in the next leg. Just take the horse that I feel most confident in. And, with the pace set up in here, it does seem like there's going to be some speed. In no way does Pretty Mischievous need to be up on the front. She's very, very versatile. Walsh has talked about that, and she can, I think, just sort of let the race unfold and just do what she needs to do to get it done. So the pace is interesting in this race, and Pretty Mischievous does seem like the one that I think has a chance to win the Kentucky Oaks. I think she really is being slept on, and she just seems to be doing so well. So that's what I'm going with in this one. So let's single her in the Oaks.
And I agree. I've gotten off Hoosier Philly for this one, and I've moved to Pretty Mischievous as well. I'm interested in the Allie's Look, but what we saw with Hoosier Philly was maybe the layoff, right? It was the first time back in the Rachel Alexandra for Hoosier Philly. So if I'm going to play Hoosier Philly, that would be the angle. Like hopefully you see improvement. And the Alley's look hasn't raced in February. Actually hasn't raced since the Silver Bullet Day, beating Chop Chop, who I think's probably, maybe better on the turf anyways. So what you make of that race? Pretty Mischievous has beaten the Alley's look. Pretty Mischievous has beaten Hoosier Philly. One thing is, though, that you had just mentioned, there is some speed, but I also think these three horses are also shown versatility. They've shown the ability to be on the front. They've also shown to track and win. So if you're just looking at those three on the outside, I think that's something that's going to be intriguing to watch, is how they kind of that chess game, and that's going to probably give you some clues as you head into the Oaks. But I've decided to move with Pretty Mischievous as well. Any thoughts on the 1 and 2 on the inside, Christian Deoro or South Lawn?
Yeah, so that Christian Deoro, she's new to Steve Asmussen's barn. She came in, she was with Todd Venture before, and she won going 6.5 furlongs in a stake race, wire to wire, right? I think she's going to be a full send, and she's got Rosario up, which is an equally sort of dangerous front running jock like Johnny V, right? He knows how to really make everybody think that they're going faster than they are, and he saves enough energy with his runner to get it done late. I still think it's too big of a step up for her to get it done. She worked nicely in her first work there on Sunday here at Fairgrounds, so maybe a little bit dangerous. And then in terms of South Lawn, Norm Cassie's barn is definitely high on her, that she's doing really well, and she's a 3-year-old who just made a really good start beating that field last time, which was a decent field of fillies. And she's got every right to step forward, right? I mean, that's what they do this time of year, and especially in that second start. The same can be said with Hoosier Philly, and the same that can be said with Pretty Mischievous, right? All these fillies making their second start as a 3-year-old and Alley's look, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody's got a right to step forward. I think the base that South Lawn stepping up forward is just a little bit light in terms of figures to compete with some of these. But you got Ray Gutierrez up, you got the rail. He knows this filly. He was up last time, and he's our leading rider. So he can figure it out. He knows the track. He knows the configuration. He knows you want to be forward and you want to be along the rail. And something to look out for is we had a really big speed bias going on here throughout February, rail bias / being forward. So it cooled off. Here's my theory, is that when it's hot and the track really dries out and it gets baked a little bit, it gets kind of patted down and becomes really fast, right? And then when it cools down, as it has been over this past week or so, it's a little bit more fair. So we're coming out of a fair little cycle in terms of the bias, but it's supposed to heat up this week. We'll see if any rain comes. But even though it looks like Saturday's going to be hot, so that could favor that front running effort that the one or the two could definitely take advantage of.
Yeah, I, like you, just thought maybe too big of a step up, at least against the three that we've seen. So Kevin and Colin both go single with Pretty Mischievous. I completely agree with your. You got to take an opinion. You got to take a stand here when you have the two 2-to-1s and an 8-to-5 on the morning line. Pick which one you like. You can't use two of them, or I would really implore you not to use three of them. Pick one, and that's where you'll find your value. So we move on to the big one, the Louisiana Derby. This is worth 100 points for the Trail to the Kentucky Derby, 40 for second and 30 for third. So really the first, second, and third place finishers in the race will most likely find the gate on that first Saturday in May. You have a field of 12 going a mile and a 3/16. That's also important because it's the longest prep race. So as you're getting into the distance for the Derby, a lot of people will definitely look back at the Louisiana Derby for that. And last year we had Epicenter, who ended up being your 3-year-old of the year and obviously finished second in the Kentucky Derby. A nice field of 12. Me and Matt broke down this preview yesterday, and we talked about how there's not a lot of pace in here and how taking 2-to-1 on Instant Coffee is something that we weren't really into, even though we do believe Instant Coffee is a grinder. We believe Instant Coffee is a really good horse, but we just didn't see the pace set up. That we've talked about how much pace there's been in the other races, and then we got to this one, and there's really somewhat of a lack of a pace, I would think. You have 4 returning from the Risen Star, that's Sun Thunder, Single Ruler, Tappett's Conquest, Curly Jack, and then you have 5 trying stakes for the first time: King's Barn, Cagliostro, Disarm, Shopper's Revenge, and Baseline Beater. So me and Matt kind of talked about, are you going to take the horses that you've kind of known and been seeing, or are you going to maybe take a chance on some of these horses stepping up to stakes for the first time? Where did you go?
Well, talk this through with me. So, who do you think might go to the front in this race? Because the pace is such an interesting part of handicapping this.
So I have written down, let me write right here, Curly Jack, Shopper's Revenge, I believe, will go to the front. And then it's a little bit of, do you think King's Barn has shown some early speed? And maybe Disarm, who are the two that I'm interested in as possibly getting out in front. And they've only raced 2 and 3 times, so there's a little bit of a question mark there as well. Do you think that's where it would come from?
Yeah, the way I'm seeing it is Shopper's Revenge, King's Barnes, and JC's Road, that Cox runner on the outside.
Who's going to have to cross?
Going to have to cross over, right? Going to have to cross over. That's the nice thing about they start so early in the stretch is there's definitely room, to get in position. But I think especially with Cox having 2 other runners who need some pace to close into, and some Coffee being one of them, Tappett's Conquest as well, that it seems like, that he should go. That's his best shot, is going strong. But last race there at Oaklawn, he wasn't able to get the lead. I don't know if it was just, kind of an off track or going against Arabian Night, who was just too much and they didn't want to get mixed up in it, all that sort of stuff. But he rated a little bit and had a good move in the second turn. And so maybe that their idea was they wanted to teach him to rate. And that's really the better design to try to win the Derby, is to be able to have that multi-dimensionality. But I think he's the send. Shopper's Revenge has had gate troubles, just kind of pauses, hesitates in the gate. But they worked him in the gate this morning. And Steve said it went well. But I think he's a send. I think his hand's forced on the rail. And King's Barnes shown high speed figures, even though he hasn't been one who needs a lead, or it seems like a true front running type. But I think it's those 3. And Curly Jack, Tom says that he doesn't want to be mixed up in the pace. He was mad that they were last time, tending to that pace, and he wants to have a closer's kick, for that long stretch. So I think he'll just settle it to the rail and just sort of see, who sort of positions in front of him, but could have a pocket right there. So I'm tempted to use one of those 3 just in case, right? One of those 3 might steal it, out front. Mm-hmm. And I'm back and forth still whether I will. Right now, I don't have one of those runners. I don't have a deep closer. I don't have those front runners. I've got those in between that should be able to kind of get that first run on those front runners. So I'm going with Cagliostro, the 7, going with Tappett's Conquest, the 9, and my man Dennington, the 10. So those 3, I think, are going to offer good prices to match up with Pretty Mischievous. The value is going to be there. I think maybe not $180, but maybe, something like $80, $90 sort of daily double, which we could be going for. And those 3 runners all seem to be really progressive types. That the 2 of them, Cagliostro, he's one that just talked to that barn a bunch. And he's always been there physically. Mentally, he's still a little bit of a nut job. He bit me on the hand today. Didn't break skin, okay, but he bit me on the hand today. He's a little bit of a maniac in being all over the place. But when he gets out to race, he gets it. He has a ton of fun out there. He loves it, right? And he took a huge step forward, which gives me a little bit of a pause, because sometimes we see that huge step forward in between a race that they bounce off of that. But I think he's putting it together. I think he'll be in good position tactically. And he should be a live price. And then Dennington, that win in the last race, they put the blinkers on. He was too much in the pace in the Lecomte, and they took him off. And I've been watching this guy work pretty intensely. He just has this absolute understanding of the finish line, and he just surges himself without the jockey asking him. Even in the works, when he's working with company, he surges to get past his company at the finish line. I've seen it several times. He seems to me like a true racehorse, and his figures aren't quite as high as the others. And he did beat, Cagliostro and First Defender and others in that last race, which, we'll see if they're as good as some of these in this field. But he's got that extra something that's a really winning something. And Tappett's Conquest, I think he got tired last time and went wide. He received a better thoroughbred figure than Angel of Empire in this race. for that wide trip. They give a little bit of a bump up from that, but he's one that's been working fantastic and seems to be, he needs the points, as opposed to, JC's Road. They're all light, right? Instant Coffee's probably in there with 30 points, I think he has, but he's got to get them. And I'm interested in that one. I think Manny Franco is an interesting jock. He might be able to have him positioned a little bit early and in good position to have a good first run at this field and not so far back as he was last time.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Tappett's Conquest. That's exactly what Matt said on our preview, is the switch to Manny Franco is a little bit more aggressive rider, probably have him more forwardly placed, and hopefully doesn't have to make up as much ground as he has in the last two. As I talked about, and the same thing that you said about Cagliostro as far as improving speed figures is the exact same reason I'm going to back to the well with Sun Thunder and Disarm. Disarm's only raced 3 times, but we've kind of talked about, at least on this channel, we've seen, make what you will of the 3-year-olds we've seen so far. We sort of have a theory that one of these horses is going to come from an optional claimer, smash into a prep, do really well, and go right into the Derby and possibly make a lot more noise than all the ones that we've been following all along. And I think you have 3 right here, right next to each other, with the 4, 5, and 6, that any one of those takes another step forward, any improvement, I think that they're going to be right there. I really liked what I saw in the improvement from Sun Thunder in the Risen Star, and I think that if there's any more improvement there, he's going to be right in the mix.
Yeah.
I think so. Good to hear about Dennington. Dennington's a horse Dennington and Jason Rhodes have 2 of those horses I've kind of just been blah against, and I kind of just ignore them. So I will certainly be looking for that, as you gave some good points on Dennington looking for the wire.
Yeah, he'll be in the mix at the end for sure. I think it's going to be tough for any of these runners to get it done. It's such a big field, and how the the trips are going to work out is going to be interesting, especially if you're coming from off the pace, as so many of them will be trying to do. But he's one to use for sure. He's a runner. The other one that I almost used in here was number 12, Baseline Beater.
Okay.
He hasn't had a clean trip his whole race career. I think it's 5 races.
Yep.
I was talking to his trainer Neil today, and he said he had 2 in that last race. He said he stopped watching Baseline Beater, which is the one he's always been highest on. He's really been, thinking this is a Derby horse the whole time he's had him, because he was in so thick coming around the turn, just so much traffic. And he started watching his other runner, and then all of a sudden he looked back, and boom, he had made this amazing move through the traffic. He's a very bold horse, doesn't mind, splitting horses, will get through any hole that he's pointed towards, and he can get the distance big time. He really pulled away from that field last time, those 2 runners that were behind him in the gallop out, and he's gonna be able to get the distance. So he's another one to use for sure. I'm gonna use him underneath though. I think he's going to be a nice bomb to use in my vertical exotics. I think it might just be a little bit too tough, especially outside draw and all that sort of stuff. But Corey Lanerie chose Baseline Beater over Dennington, and that's something to always keep in mind. The jockey game, right? Why they choose what they choose, and he's been getting it right again and again. He's had so many live mounts and has been riding them well. So those are all interesting. I think you're right that Disarm's really interested in here. Steve was saying that he's just going to move forward with the distance, right? This has been the idea that once he gets to this distance, he's really going to be able to take a big step forward. They could only get 2 races in him after taking that long break from September, his run there in Saratoga. It will be a big step forward, but it could be Rosario's 3rd Louisiana Derby in the row if he gets it done.
Yeah, and speaking of that jockey game, Giroux moves from Tappett's Conquest to Jace's Road is another one that to pay attention to as well. And if you take Jace's Road and cross out those 2 races in the slop, who dropped the rider, I think, going into one of the gates, you're talking about being a little crazy. Jace's Road has shown a little bit of that too, but take out those 2 sloppy races, and certainly this could make sense here as well. The fact that Cagliostro bit you today, I'm glad that we both have it on our ticket. That sounds like a sure thing.
That could be it, right? That's all. If they bite you, they're going to win. I think he bites everybody all the time, every day. He's just
okay.
He's nippy.
Well, you'll be the first guest bitten by the Kentucky Derby contender if we can get Cagliostro home. So that'll be my big part of my show. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much for stopping by again. Kevin and I both go number 3, Pretty Mischievous in the race 11, the Fairgrounds Oaks. And Kevin goes 7, 9, 10. That'll only cost you $3. Can't blame us if we miss it. I go 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 9. That'll cost you $5 as well. Kevin, you got yourself a busy day with 15 races on Saturday, and you just told me that there's 15 races on Sunday too. So no sleep for you.
Yeah, not much sleep, and in a good way though, right? Just to pour over this stuff and enjoy my last couple weeks here in New Orleans, and just sort of burn the candle at both ends, and sleep when I get back to Kansas City when it's all said and done.
That's right. Enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me again. Everyone, please like and subscribe. He's Kevin Kilroy at Trust Your Luck on Twitter. I'm Colin Sheehan. See you next time.